Today's guest on My World with Stories podcast is someone so special to me. Back in March of this year, I had the opportunity to interview my very own teacher, Miss Lauren Kostegan, about the teaching world and her upcoming launch to her own podcast. But in that episode, I mentioned that there are a few more individuals like her that hold a special place in my heart, and that is Mr. David Palen. Dave is a special education teacher, podcaster himself, actor, you name it. He has done not only so much for me as a student, but to others as well. I think you'll enjoy this episode and get more insight on him the way I know him. So, without further ado, here's episode 29 of My World with Stories podcast with Mr. David Palen. How has your summer been? Because it's been a while since I was with you in the classroom.
I know. I know. I haven't really seen you much. I it's been it's been like 2 months now, actually, which is crazy to think that all that time has gone by. Um, but I've had a pretty good summer. I've staying busy. For me, I find that the most important thing for me to do in the summers is to try to stay busy,
Yeah.
or else I just like get super caught up in scrolling on my phone and lying on the couch and all that. So I don't know if you remember, but I drive Uber.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been doing that just about every day. I usually get up in the morning and go out and do Uber for like 3 hours, like deliver breakfast to people in the morning, deliver a bunch of Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks and stuff.
Mm.
And then I get that out of the way in the morning, and I try to go to the gym. I've been slipping a little bit lately, but I try to do that every day. Um, and just like set out a plan for myself every day. And but it's been really good. I mean, I went on a cruise with my wife's family.
Nice.
Have you ever been on a cruise before?
No.
Do you think you'd like, are you like okay on the water and stuff, or
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I think I now go around and it was my first, and I recommend it to everybody now because I had such a good time on the cruise. We um we left right out of Boston, which is convenient, picture you don't have to fly anywhere. And we went to um so it goes up to Nova Scotia, Canada,
Mm.
and stops in like two different ports in Nova Scotia, and then goes up to Prince Edward Island,
Yep.
and then comes back to Portland, Maine, and then back to Boston. So we were gone for a week. I loved it. I participated. Did you see my video when I was in The Voice on
Yeah.
yeah, participated in The Voice on the ship. That was super fun. You would have loved it. Got to like hang out and be mentored by the people that were in the cast of the shows on the ship, and got to sing with a live band and stuff. So that was super fun. It kind of made the trip, and just did like a lot of relaxing.
Yeah.
And I really like my wife's family too, so it was nice to hang out with them. They're from like all over the place, and we all got together. It's very relaxing, but I'm the summer, but trying to fill it up with doing good stuff too. And I've already been back in to start I'm moving classrooms. You remember that, right? So I've been moving stuff from my room downstairs, and I've been in a couple of days doing that stuff already. I just started like last week doing that, and I have to get in probably like 2 more days to do the moving
Uh,
to start to get ready. And that's been it. Yeah. What about you? How's your summer going?
it's going. Just been keeping busy.
Did you
Work.
go away at all, or oh,
I went
didn't
to
you
the
go?
Bahamas.
I saw that. Yeah. How was that?
That was great.
Yeah.
There was like 20 something of us that went, and
20 something? Oh, you went with like the whole crew, huh?
I went with I went with the class.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Good. We went to an island though, like the day before we left. The Bahamas.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Well, as long as everybody got back safe,
Yeah.
that's all. That's all. I always worry, but yeah, we didn't have stuff like that when I was a senior in high school. I drove with my friends to Montreal for my like graduation trip. and that was it. Yeah, we never did anything big. Nobody went down the Bahamas or anything.
Yeah, that's what Miss Dorso said because she said that like her year they didn't even go to the Bahamas till like
Yeah, it's a relatively new thing that you guys do. But I mean, don't get me wrong, it's cool. It sounds like it's pretty fantastic. But
it was beautiful.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I've never been. It's on my list of places to visit, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Nice. Good. I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah, I had a blast.
Awesome. Very good.
So let's kind of give everyone an insight of who you are.
Sure.
Um,
Okay.
so Mr. Palin is well, he was one of my teachers for 2 years, but before that, you were actually my tutor.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
you've been there for a while.
right.
So like, can you talk about how you originally got started into what you do today in special education?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Um, so I was what I like to call a late bloomer in life. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do.
Mm,
Um, or I had different ideas on that throughout my 20s.
yeah.
Um, when I graduated high school, I didn't get right into, I didn't go to college for education at the time. My first major was theater, and I actually switched out of theater right after the first semester. I went to Salem State back then. That was 1999. And switched into history. I was a history major, and then I got sick of that, and was an English major, and then I got sick of that, and I was a business major. Which I probably shouldn't even have been declaring majors at the time. I clearly didn't know what I wanted to do. And I actually dropped out twice from college too. Um, back then it was I was always more interested in like working and making money, and I I mean, I needed money. So what could I do? I was paying for college myself and all that. And so when I'd get these random jobs that, say, oh, I'm doing whether that sometimes that like my first major job was like working at a gas station when I worked full time. But I was making some money and it was never all that. Um, it always seemed like it was more important for me to make money than it was to go to school back then. Rather than give you the whole long, long story about that, I finally decided to start to take school more seriously when I was in my late 20s. So probably when I was like 28 or 29, that's when I kind of got back in and said, okay, I'm really going to finish things up this time.
Mm,
And I zeroed in on just something that I was most interested in through my 20s, and that was psychology. And I ended up going back to school for psychology to Salem State, and really loved it, loved talking about it, loved reading about it, enjoyed even writing papers about it and stuff like that. So was finally able to finish up in like 2012 is when I graduated college. So altogether, it was like 12 or 13 years between when I started college and when I finished college. But I got it done. I was very excited. I still didn't really know what I was going to do from there. And psychology, you can jump off into a lot of different places once you get your undergrad in psychology. So I had some ideas. I was thinking maybe I'll go into social work. That was something that appealed to me. Maybe I would continue going to school and try to have my own practice as a psychologist was something that crossed my mind. But really, what I was doing, I mean, for several years, even in my early, like from late 20s to early 30s, I was delivering pizza. That was I worked at the pizza center in Winthrop, and I honestly made okay money doing that. And it was pretty much suited my needs at the time. I just was kind of living, having fun with my friends and making money when I needed to make money and just kind of getting by as I got my degree. Well, after I had my degree, there was one night that I was at the pizza center working, and my old friend John Macero, who you might remember Mr. Macero as the superintendent, of course, right? Um, And you also probably know that Mr. Macero is or always has been an actor and heavily involved in theater. Yep. So I've known him for a really long time. He directed me in shows when I was younger, and we performed together as I got a little bit older. And he was always a friend, him and Trudy. Were you a a Whisper person or?
I did it when I was 3, and
Okay.
yeah, and then I did like a summer camp one year.
So Trudy, every Jamie, obviously Jamie. Yeah. Yeah, Jamie and I were in high school together and did theater together in high school too. So I've known all of them for a very long time. And so I bumped into him. Hey, how you doing? We were talking. And I think it was him that brought up to me, why don't you, you're still looking for something to do. You just got your degree. Would you have any interest in being an ESP at the high school? Which, in case people are listening, don't know what that is. It's like a teacher's aide, right? And I had taught at the School of Performing Arts before. I had worked a little bit at, have you ever heard of it's called the Shore Educational Collaborative. It's in Chelsea. It's like a special school for kids with kind of severe disabilities go there. I actually worked there for a little bit in my mid 20s, but not for too long, just as kind of like a teacher's aide there. So I had a little bit of experience, but not much, and wasn't sure that was the route I was going to take. But he kind of put the opportunity in my lap. And I said, and this was like, it was August. School was starting in like 2 weeks, probably. And I said, well, you know what? I can give it a try. And in the meantime, I can keep delivering pizza because it's no problem, easy enough. The place didn't even open till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so it didn't interfere. Um, and I um, applied, got the job. They needed people. They always need people. And that first year I worked, so at the time, Mr. Capasso, our assistant principal, was a teacher, and I was his ESP. And we worked in a room together, which was an early incarnation of what we call now the S1 program, but it was a room for students that needed more assistance with behavioral issues. Let's put it that way. Um, so I ended up working. That was my first year at Winthrop High School. That was the 2012-2013 year. Learned a lot really quickly and really kind of realized that year that I loved it. Like I loved being back in the setting. I loved the schedule. I loved working with this group of people, like-minded people. All the teachers were all kind of, we're on the same wavelength. We all kind of took similar paths in life and all that. And most importantly is I really loved working with this population of students that need a little extra help in certain areas and liked doing that. And so that's what like got me into it that first year. And real quickly, what ended up happening is it was a time where a lot of people were retiring, and some of the people that had been in the school system for a long time were finally gonna be hanging out on the beach and doing whatever instead. And the teacher that I worked with, Mr. Capasso, he moved up into the CET position, which is like the person who runs special ed in the school. And they needed somebody to be the teacher in the room that I was in. And I was able to move into that position. And from there, they give you, because you need licenses to do these things, right? And I didn't have the license at the time because you need to get a master's degree. But what they do is they give you something called a waiver if you are enrolled in a program or working towards that degree, or you can apply for certain licenses, and as long as you complete everything you have to do within a certain time frame, you're cool. So that's what happened. I got a waiver, and that was kind of the kick in the butt I needed to enroll in a master's program. And I ended up getting my master's in what they call moderate disabilities for grades 5 through 12. the rest is history. I just, yeah, from there I moved out of the behavioral room and into a more general setting. And now next year is going to be the first year where I go back into what we consider a behavioral room, which is very different now than what it was. This was 12 years ago, right? But ultimately I like the challenge of working in those rooms. I have a personality that I think works well with students that, might overreact or might get out of hand sometimes. I enjoy working with them. I enjoy being on my toes in education a little bit and not the same thing every day. Um, and a little bit more of with this type of job comes a bit more um I guess you would call it freedom, but a little bit of, hey, what would be the best for us to do today in order to meet the needs of our students best? And if that means we need to take what we call a therapeutic day and do something outside of the building, like go for a walk or go out for breakfast or take a field trip, or do we have a lot more freedom to do these types of things? Um, so it's cool. I to me it's super appealing. And yeah, I guess it's a very long-winded answer to your question, but that's the path that has set me right to where I am right now. And I'm so grateful that I took the path the way I did, honestly, because I think um having a bit of a jaded time in my 20s when I didn't know what I was going to do um helps me work with sometimes kids that aren't sure, that are a little jaded and not sure exactly what they want to do or what. So, because I've been there, and I'm grateful that I had the experiences I did when I was younger. I'm super grateful that the opportunities found me again to give back to my community and, um, you know, kind of move on to the next phase of my life, which is where I'm at right now.
I think that's great.
Yeah, it's totally cool. It's totally cool.
Yeah. So now you're heading into a new field of special ed. I remember when you told us and we were like, what?
Yeah.
But it's that's so exciting. So are you excited to like do a different, part of, special ed?
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. Don't get me wrong, I'm nervous too, just because I've really y- uh, you know, got very comfortable doing what I was doing. The stuff that I was teaching, I had taught for a number of years. Um, I was very used to my students. I've known you guys, your grade for since you were freshmen, and um, it's so nice to be able to come into a school year already knowing everybody and kind of knowing what makes them tick, knowing what might trigger them. No, you kind of just get a sense. And it's very reassuring. It's almost like, all right, no big deal. Like I got this covered. You can kind of put your feet up and be like, okay, what we know works and whatever. So now it's going to be a bit more of, I don't know what to expect. I know the kids, but I don't know them as well as I know you guys. And so it's going to be a new experience. Paired with that, maybe something that you wouldn't think about, but in that room, there's a team of people that work together, obviously. So it's that's a new part of the experience too, working with other people very closely. Not that we don't do that upstairs, but very closely, um, working towards people's goals together. Um, so I'm excited. I'm happy to do it. It's breathing a breath of fresh air, new life into the career at this point, over a decade in. That's kind of nice. Um, but yeah, I'm anxious just to get started. My main thing is whenever a school year begins, I just want the kids in the building and I don't want to have to move everything anymore. I don't want to have to do trainings anymore. I just want to put me in the room with the kids. Let me start to get to know people. Let's start to form our relationships. Let's have some fun. Let's learn what we need to learn. Let's pass tests that we need to pass. Let's get this rolling. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. And you can ask me again how I feel around Thanksgiving. That's when I'll have a better idea how everything's going. But I'm sure it will be great.
Yeah, I think those kids are gonna like be obsessed with you.
I hope so. I think so too. I was going down there a lot at the end of the year and kind of just getting more comfortable with them too. And it's a great group of kids. They really are. Different group of kids, with all, it's just going to be fun to get to know them. And we'll have a ton of fun. We really will. And I hope that I'll help them grow in ways that they didn't think they could do. And, it's going to be a good thing. It's going to be a good thing. It's a really good team in there right now. So not that it wasn't before. It would, you know, they just retired, unfortunately.
I think that's gonna be great.
Thank you.
So what is it like? Well, we could talk about your past this
Sure.
or but like what I talked about this with Miss Costigan, but like
Okay.
what is it like to be like a special education teacher? Like what's a day in the life of being one?
Okay. That's a good question because I do think it's different than being a regular ed teacher. I think regular ed teachers would say the same thing. Um, a a day in the life of a special ed teacher really means that on most days it's go, go, go from the moment that you walk into the building to the minute you leave. And usually, if you let it, a lot of your time at home too, and a lot of your time, outside of the school in general, because there's a lot that needs to get done. There's a lot that needs to happen. There's a lot of people with questions. Um, and you kind of serve as the point person for these things on a lot of the stuff. Working with students is, in my mind, the easiest part of the job. I love doing that. So that's fine. That's never been something that stressed me out or anything like that. But the typical day usually starts with me walking in and having all my bags and my lunch and my coat still on and everything. And as soon as I'm in the building, teachers are stopping me in the hall and asking me questions and big questions too. Um, and don't get me wrong, there are times where I want to scream, can I please just put down my bags first can I just take off my coat before we start going, going, going? But I get it. Don't get like that because everybody's busy. Everybody is busy at school. Everybody needs to get stuff done. So yeah. But any, single special ed teacher has a caseload, we call it, or our liaison list, as we call it, where we're like the point person. There's 15 kids that are all different. The I in IEP stands for individualized. So no two kids are the same. No two kids necessarily get all the same accommodations, things that general ed teachers have questions about. So you need to know the student inside and out and, on a different level sometimes. And um at the beginning of the year, sometimes it's like, let me get back to you once I read their IEP again. I have to go through stuff again. I have to look at things again. Being the point person means you're getting emails from parents, you're getting emails from students sometimes, you're getting emails from all of their teachers sometimes, or you're chasing down trying to find teachers because they need to know something. They need to know, hey, today there's this test coming and this person's going to come and see me during that period, blah, blah, blah. You're trying to make sure everybody's on board. Because the hardest thing, too, is what a lot of times general ed teachers will say is we just need better communication. Sometimes I need to remind myself that that general ed teacher is dealing with, they might have 120 kids that they see over the course of the day. I don't see as many kids, but my kids have a longer background to them that I need to know, right? That's it. You're constantly trying to keep general ed teachers in the loop, working with the other special ed teachers on things because we all have this Dorso might know certain things about you better than I know certain things about you better. So we talk to make sure, oh yeah, this is happening. Oh yeah, cool. Yep, yep. Okay, we got this covered. I'd like to say that what we're trying to do is make things smooth for you behind the scenes, without you having to worry about it that much. Because you got enough that you have to deal with without having to worry about, let's say, is your IEP being followed correctly? I like to think of us as we're going to smooth it out behind the scenes so you never have to worry about that thing. You always will just be accommodated the way that you're supposed to be accommodated. And you can focus on learning. You can focus on the test. You can focus on the things you need to do for the day. And it's the same thing when your parents are emailing me. They want to make sure it's smooth for you. And I get that too. But I also want to make them feel reassured and comforted that yes, you have somebody that cares here on this end of the screen in the building all day with your kid that will make sure that they don't get screwed over, that they are getting what they need. And if they have any issues that come up, they'll feel comfortable in coming to me and talking to me. And I think all special ed teachers feel the same way about that. We all want you guys to feel comfortable with us. So on top of all that, there's just lots of paperwork, as I'm sure Miss Costigan said, and whatever. We're constantly doing paperwork. Any downtime that we have away from students, we're working on your paperwork because there's legal responsibilities that go along with being a special education teacher and being a special ed student that we need to make sure we're checking off the boxes and getting certain things done by certain times. And there's a whole process. So in one IEP document, I might be writing some stuff. Miss Kostegan might be writing some stuff. Miss Dorso might be writing some stuff. We need to get input from general ed teachers. We need to provide data on certain things like maybe it's something as simple as, did Brooke use a folder today? And were her math papers in the right folder, or were they in her geometry or in her history folder? Little things like that we have to pay attention to and take note of in order to keep data on that so we can better inform when we sit as a team during a yearly IEP meeting to say, this is what this student needs to work on more. And sometimes it's little things like, are the papers in the right spot? And sometimes they're much bigger things too. Did this student get into a fist fight today? Thankfully that doesn't happen too often in our school. But so in the course of the day, you're monitoring all that stuff as well that's happening and make sure you're making note of things. Sometimes you're going to meetings that you're running. Sometimes you're going to meetings that you're just going in to give a little report on. This is how they're doing in math class, you know, and that can be happening. So when other teachers are making their copies for class or doing their planning, we're in a meeting during that same time period. Or we're meeting with the head of the department to talk about changes that need to be made or what's going to be happening. It's a lot of go, 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 go. The only way, and it's a big learning curve for people that are just starting out as teachers, can be super duper overwhelming. But the people that succeed really well in the role right from the get-go, right out of college or whatever, their first year, are the people that can stay organized. And it's always my number one thing for new teachers is tell them, like, if you don't already have a to-do list that you keep on a daily and weekly and monthly basis, that you're planning things out and you know what's going on, you need to start one right now. I used to try to do stuff just by memory or just like when I first started, I realized very quickly that that's something that I can't do. Like it's a similar thing that I talk about like in an academic support class, really. I wouldn't be able to do my day-to-day job if I didn't keep a to-do list that I update immediately as soon as something new comes onto my plate. I have it on my phone, it's just an app that I use. And I use it during the summer too for like my normal regular life stuff because I've realized that is one of my weaknesses is my memory. It just is. Um, I don't know if it's getting older or whatever, but I will forget things if I don't write everything down and refer to it. I even have to remind myself to look at my to-do list. Like I'll set a little alarm on my phone that just says, look at your to-do list and make sure you're on track for everything. And that's what I do. And sometimes, some days I go into work and there's 25 things on the to-do list that I have to do. Some stuff that you just have to do every day and stuff that is emergency stuff too. You just have to get done. So that's what you have to do. You have to stay really organized. Oh, and by the way, you also have to teach 5 classes a day too, or 4 classes a day or whatever too. Um, that's always the last thing sometimes that special ed teachers talk about because there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of relationship building and a lot of this. But oh yeah, we also have to learn the Pythagorean theorem today. Oh, we also have to do this. We also have to read a poem. And it's like, oh yeah, we should probably plan the lesson for that as well, right? You'd think that would, but all special ed teachers say the same thing. It's like, geez, like, okay, like I got to remember that I actually have to teach something too, because that's what happens. And that can really, I'm not going to lie, that can really wear you down because it's very busy. But that's why the other thing that special education teachers love are the summers. The summers make up for everything. I try to do nothing. If I can get away with it, I try to do nothing school related over the summer. That's why I drive Uber. It's completely different. It has nothing to do with what I do. It clears my brain. It's how I reset. Yeah, that's it. And too that we all run clubs or I do stuff with the union. I don't know if you knew that, but I do. I'm the treasurer of the teachers union.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you knew that, yeah. So I have to do stuff for that. So we all take on additional stuff too
yeah.
because we're crazy and we're trying to fit that stuff in or trying to squeeze it in to the end of the day. And, remember, people are coming to see you at the end of the day too, because they need extra help with this or that, or they need to talk about their breakup, or they need to, they need to talk about their mother, or they need to, but that's the stuff we value. That's what we want to do. So you never push that stuff aside, but you just somehow have to fit it all in. And for some people, they might say, this is not for me. And I would never ever put them down for feeling that way because I do think it takes a special sort of person to be able to balance it all and to keep a smile on their face too. And our department's good like that though. Especially the smiling part. Everybody I will, between me and Ms. Dorso and Ms. Kostegan, and I say us three because we've been there for several years together now. Usually we're all joking around and having a good time. Not saying we don't collapse sometimes and have breakdowns. We all do, but it's normal, right? Um, so that is just a glimpse of the day. There's much more to it too, but that's it. Because you're also, you know, being observed by your bosses to make sure that you're doing a good job. And you have to, um, oh, it's time. The superintendent needs this thing from me. The principal needs this thing from me. There's a survey that's come out in my email that I have to fill out. Oh, I have to take part in this game at the pep rally. I have to do, they need an interview for Wake Up Winthrop. Okay, I'm going to do that too. It's one, it's nonstop. You, it's craziness. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's craziness. But the days go by fast, I think. And you get very close with your coworkers because you're all in it together. So you really become, we're all at each other's weddings and because I mean, you really do, you get very close. You really love each other like a family. It's a lot of people say that about Winthrop too, once they leave and go get a job at a different place, that um, it's not the same in that we all are really, really, really tight in Winthrop, all the teachers. You can't talk bad about us to one teacher because it's going to come back to us. We're all very, very close like that. So, yeah, but it's good. And we have a lot of laughs too. It sounds stressful, but we have lunch and I laugh my head off with Miss Hayes at lunch and it helps to calm everything down. And I think it's important to like eat lunch with people and have that outlet to take a deep breath, even if it's only for 22 minutes before we go back. And yeah, so that's a day. That's a day in the life.
Well, I see you guys always in the hallways, and you guys are always hustling to get to your next thing. But you
Yeah. That's the other thing, special ed teachers, because we co-teach and we're not always just in our classroom. So we're hustling to the next spot. Sometimes you walk into that next classroom and you go over to the teacher and you say, okay, what are we doing today? What's going on? A good co-teaching relationships, you have it down to where they're like, we're doing this, this, and this. I'm like, okay, cool, got it, let's go. But yeah, it's a lot of hustle, Brooke. A lot of hustle. That's for sure.
how has being a special ed teacher impacted you as a person?
Oh,
Like,
got you.
by
It has helped me to become a more patient person. The understanding that not everything clicks with somebody in the same way. And that's something that you can take into your personal relationships as well. It's okay that people do things at different paces or maybe understand things in different ways or need different sorts of explanations or different sorts of experience in order to fully understand something or relate to something or whatever. Being a teacher in general, I think, opens your mind to that not everybody sees everything the same way you see it. And that's okay. And it's actually very normal. So, in other words, get over yourself. I'm talking to myself. Get over yourself and what you think you're always right, or if you think, this should be easy or whatever, and realize that different people grasp things in different ways. And I think you can imagine how that could be important in your interpersonal relationships with your family or your love, your romantic relationships or whatever. It's an important quality to have in that too. Sometimes harder with your family, but it helps to realize that. Definitely that. I have just being a special ed teacher in general, I like the idea that I can be somebody that people trust, that they can come to for help on anything. I like being a person that parents can feel comfortable with. It means a lot to me. And I try hard to make sure that that's something that's happening. I don't ever want a parent to feel left out in any way of their kid's education. Because if you think about it, what a horrible way to feel if they don't understand what's going on, they can't understand the IEP well or something. No, no, no. Let's talk about it in terms that I can help you understand it more, or, I think is so important. Sometimes when you do these meetings every day for every student that's in special ed, they can become robotic. We have to go over this and this and this. Sometimes you use language and that are, if you're familiar with IEPs, you know them. And we're very familiar because we do it every day, all day, every day. Your family comes in once a year for a meeting. That's their big opportunity to sit down with everybody and talk about anything that they might be concerned about, have any questions. Obviously, they can email and stuff over the course of the year, but I want to make sure you're getting your money's worth, right? Like, I want you to understand. I want you to be honest about anything you're concerned about, even if it's going to hurt my feelings, it's fine. And I think that's something I've succeeded in making parents feel comfortable and heard. So that means a lot to me too. I don't have kids of my own, so being able to be there in a trusted adult sense for people is something that I value very much. And I'm happy that this role has given me the opportunity to be able to do that.
outside of the classroom, like what are your hobbies and like things that you like to do? Like now you actually have a podcast yourself.
Yeah, that's been my big thing since school ended, is really getting into this world a little bit, which I love. I love I'm just starting to make more like TikTok videos and stuff too, which I love, and I just know you're so good at it too. But I'm really just like doing things like for the podcast, right? Doing things like learning how to use audio recording software, learn to use Canva a lot to do a lot of my promotions for the podcast, which I knew people used, but I really didn't know. I know teachers use it a lot too, but I had never really used it. And now like I'm feeling much more comfortable with it, kind of know how to do that stuff, which has been cool. What I'm finding I really love to do, and I know you can relate to this, is editing videos on TikTok has been super fun for me.
Yeah,
I use, I don't know what you use, but I use CapCut.
I use that. Yeah.
You do, yeah. And I have just been learning so much about the process, learning about layers, learning about overlays, doing all that stuff, which I love playing with and um using more and more. So I'm almost like leaning more now towards content creation on TikTok and Instagram. Put more emphasis into that than the podcast itself. I hate to say it. I'm actually on a hiatus from the podcast. My podcast was called Wake Up and Dream, and it was a motivational podcast and with affirmations and kind of just encouraging people to do their best and walking them through the ways that they can do that through self-care and staying organized and yada yada yada. I'm taking a hiatus from it. I did 20 episodes and yeah, 10-minute episodes though, quick episodes. Taking a break now, and I've been, like I said, focusing more on the TikTok stuff, which is more news and talking about what's going on. And I think that's going to, you heard it here first. I think that's going to go out to a podcast that's more like this, more conversational and talking about news events. But I don't want to talk politics
Yeah.
because it just makes me angry and makes other people angry, and who needs that? So like the whole spiel is going to be like interesting news stories, but no politics and nothing all that controversial. I try to keep it to uh weird news or uplifting news or or just interesting scientific news, things like that. So I'm on the cusp of doing that, but the TikTok videos have been my kind of my passion lately. Haven't gone viral yet. Trying like hell. I got so excited because I'm getting like 200 views, but I got so excited 2 or 3 days ago. I thought I was going viral. All of a sudden, like I very quickly got like 1,200 views on a video and tons of comments. I was like, it's happening, it's happening. But it stopped, got out at like 1,100, and that was that. But
See what happened to Miss Costigan's
which no, what happened?
yeah, it's like I think 12.3K views.
She did for which from what?
The wedding one from
Really?
wedding. Yeah.
I had no idea. I'm gonna have to talk to her. Yeah, I heard she was starting a podcast. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, she said that she's been going to so many weddings that there's no
It's
time.
hard. Yeah, they go to weddings all the time. I know. Perfect. But yeah, she was at the very beginning of the summer. She was like asking me what microphone I used and stuff. So I knew she was thinking about it. Um, and yeah, that'll be cool. It'll be good, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, hey, if she's pulling 12,500 views like that, God bless her. My big thing is gaining followers, trying to hit that 10,000 mark. Would love to be able to start playing with the creator fund, all that stuff. It's hard. It's hard. It's very, very hard. But there's a old song. I don't know if you know it. I can't who sings it. I can't remember who sings it now. Why Not Me? It's a country song. You know that song? Hold on. The Judds. The Judds sing it.
Oh,
They say, Why not me when I'm going on? Why not me? Why not me? Yeah, maybe you don't know. I only know it because somebody sang it on The Voice like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I like
Um,
voice. Yeah.
the whole point is somebody's got to be in the creator fund. Why not me? Why not you, Brooke?
Yeah.
Why can't we make $5,000 a month off of TikTok, right?
Love that.
That would be nice. I
Yeah.
would tell you what I'd stop doing. I wouldn't have to drive Uber anymore. Tell you that much.
Yeah, you'll be like those famous teachers, like the board teachers, I think they're called.
I know what you're talking about. Other than that, I'm a geez, it's so weird. Like when people ask you this, sometimes you're like, geez, what do I do for fun? I don't even have fun anymore. But not really. It's like I I like to read. I like to play music with my friends, singing
Yeah,
guitar and stuff like that. I am really into, and I want to get even deeper into reality television. So I love Below Deck. It's my one of my favorite shows of all time. Don't know if you've ever seen it.
I've heard of it.
Okay, yeah, it's just about life on a people that work on luxury yachts. And I've watched, I think, 26 seasons of it or something like that. I love it. Me and my wife, it's like, well, we caught up. It's like, it's one of those like brought so they it's like, how they have like Real Wives this and Real Wives that. They have below deck sailing, they have below deck Mediterranean, they have below deck, different things. So there's a lot of seasons. And yeah, I think probably right at the beginning of COVID, like we caught up on everything, but now we watch religiously. It's like the only show that I'll watch when it's aired live on TV rather than DVR in it or whatever. I love it. And kind of been thinking about getting into watching Vanderpump. I've never have watched it. Have you? Or okay, I might watch it. That's the next thing. So I'm into that. And spend a lot of time with my wife and we like to ride bikes. We haven't done it that much, but we have to. Um, and I guess my new thing now is traveling is just something that I'm really starting to value more and more as I get older. I didn't do a lot of it when I was younger because I didn't have the money. And so I got that going now. I've had a bunch of different hobbies and I'm kind of a type of person that takes on a hobby and then gets sick of it. I really think I actually need to get tested for ADHD because I think that is actually one of the signs of ADHD is like you'll take on a hobby and get really, really into it and then lose interest in it like almost immediately.
Yeah.
Does that happen with you ever?
I've been obsessed with these three movies for like a week now, and I keep watching them every single day. I'm like,
That's what, yeah, that could have something to do with it. Could have
why?
something to do with it. Yeah, our brains become obsessed with certain things, right? Um, and that might be what's happening with me with TikTok right now too, if I'm being honest with you. Every summer I tend to pick up something that I become a little bit obsessed with. I a couple summers ago I did metal detecting. I bought a metal detector and I would go out into people's land and search. Or I never found anything good, but I used to watch so many YouTube videos of people metal detecting. Before that, the year before, it was magnet fishing. Have you ever heard of that? Where you put a big, very powerful magnet on the end of a rope and throw
Oh,
it into rivers and try to pull stuff out of the water that you can't see and hope to find something cool. People find guns and things like that. I know. I had never found anything cool at all. That's not true. I've pulled several bicycles out.
oh,
You always find bicycles. It's wild.
crazy.
But that was years ago. I have all the equipment. I've probably spent hundreds of dollars. Haven't used it in years. Haven't the metal detecting stuff, spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Haven't used it now in 2, 3 years. So it's like I have these hobbies that I fall in love with and then fall out of love with. The only things that really have persisted through the years I play a little bit of acoustic guitar. That's always near, like I'm looking at it right now. It's always near me. I always try to pick it up and keep doing that. I love doing karaoke. I love playing trivia. I really love stuff like that. So I'd say those are my hobbies.
What was it like having like me, like our class? Like what was it like having us for I don't know, like how long did you have? Well, you had some other people for a longer time than me.
No, that's true. But your class was true. So I'm blessed to have had you guys for so long because um I got we all got to know each other on a big time. We were all very close. Um I think I've heard you guys say similar things before, so I'll say it too. Like you look at your schedule for the day and you see, okay, like, oh, I don't feel like going in today. What's my schedule? Oh, I'm starting with Palen. Or I'd say, oh, I'm starting with quantitative reasoning. So at least I have a nice, easy start to the day, right? And that's what it was with you guys. It felt easy all the time because we knew each other so well. We could talk to each other so easily and have laughs, get down to business when we had to or do. But even those, I know don't get me wrong. I know I didn't put that much academic pressure on you guys. But even like the stuff that we did do, it wasn't like you guys weren't willing to do it. It was always productive and everybody was always willing to talk about the things and get into it. Um, but no, you guys, there's certain classes that you have that just feel like that as a team, that feel that you're more comfortable than you are with other classes, really. Yeah, you can be yourself more. You don't have to worry about. There are classes that I walk into that I can't joke around with because you have to be a hardo the entire time or they'll walk all over you. Typically, this happens with a freshman or sophomore class that you don't know as well, that you're still getting to know. And honestly, usually by the time they become seniors, even juniors, they're a lot better. They've grown up a little bit. They're kind of, you know, um, and those, you have your good moments with those classes too, but it can be harder because you guys were good because I could just if phones were like something that were becoming bothersome to me, I wouldn't have to yell at you. I'd just be like, guys, can we just put them away and give me 10 minutes and you can use your phone in 10 minutes? It was like the easiest thing because I'd see Ryan would like nod his head real quick, put his phone away. Mo would be like, my bad, put it away. Like people would typically, it didn't have to be a big battle. you I find that if you can just, like I said, if there's just that respect, I'm gonna respect you, you guys respect me. It doesn't have to be a battle. You know that like you know me well enough that you know I'm a fair person and I'm not out to get you. And I know all of you guys good enough that I know that, you're willing to put in the effort if I ask you to do it and you're not out to create any problems or be jerks or anything like that. And that's just a huge relief. And it's not something you get all the time. And it's to me, and I'm sure Miss Kostegan, Miss Dorset, that's like the ideal place you want to be with your group of students, where you can just have that respect for each other. You don't have to worry about disciplinary stuff at all because it's just not an issue in the room. Um, that's not to say that there weren't times where people got mad at me or I got mad at people. You saw it happen. Like, but guess what? That happens with our family. That happens with your friend group, Obvious it would be crazy to think that every once in a while one of us weren't going to be having a bad day, and we were just and what happens a lot with the people that you're comfortable with, I hate to say it, because you're so comfortable, you could take out your bad day on them a little bit easier than you can other people. I've been guilty of it. I've been guilty of it with my wife. I've been guilty of it with my mother. I've been guilty, like my friends. Because you can get away with it, you do it, right? So sometimes it's a those bad moments are signs of how comfortable everybody is with each other. And you have to be able to, everybody, teacher, student, whatever, you got to be able to bounce back the next day. And you got to be able to talk it out if that's what sometimes you don't even have to talk about it. Sometimes it's understood. It was just a bad moment and it's not the end of the world. Like, let's just get over it. Sometimes you got to talk it out. Um, but most importantly is you cannot hold a grudge. It's my number one thing since my first year teaching. Like my first year teaching, there were kids that would, to my face, tell me to go F myself, bro. Like intense stuff and storm out of the room. And, you know, if I decided that day that, well, that kid I'm never going to respect again, I'm never going to talk to him again, I'm never going to give him opportunities again, then that's not my job as a teacher, you know? And I can say, hey, that's unacceptable. I won't tolerate it in my room but at the same time, if you come back tomorrow and you want to just be a part of this community that we created and follow the rules, then you're welcome with open arms. And we can keep moving forward from here. And I am the type of guy that one day we'll be able to laugh about it together, and that's what, even with a kid who has said terrible things to me, we have been able to laugh about it together because you can't take it personally. It's not personal. They're not actually pissed off at you. I mean, they are in the moment, but you just happen to be the adult figure that is around them all the time that they can't get away from, right? Well, even when you're home, you can go in the room and close your bedroom door, right? But in school, you're stuck with me all day, no matter what. So it's bound to happen. I love forming the relationships. And you guys were special just because so many different personalities in the room. So funny, so insightful. I just have loved watching everybody get older, grow up, and now move on and hopefully move on to great and wonderful things. Yep. And just send me a postcard from wherever you end up. That's all I want.
What's your favorite memory that you had with us?
It's kind of there's like a lot of really good memories. Being with you guys and like taking the field trip and driving up to, no, we went to Yas Chicken. We went to North Shore Community College. Being with you guys for that, it creates a different sort of when you're outside of the classroom and you're with a group of people. I loved it. It's the first time I've done something like that with a group. I've gone on field trips and stuff, but to take you guys to a college and everybody was so great. Everybody was really into it and polite and like bringing you guys to North Shore. And I like saw some of my old students at North Shore and like that. It just like the entire experience was a really fantastic experience, a fantastic memory that I'll always have of you guys. And we should have a reunion. Well, we should have a reunion at Yas Chicken sometime.
I agree.
It's always nice to get out of the building, and just do something different.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
bus ride was fun.
I know. Like yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the best part, right? Yeah, it's funny, but
Me,
yeah.
me and Skyla had like the musical that night, and we kept saying to each other, "How are we gonna get through this?"
See the poster behind you too, Freaky
Oh
Friday.
yeah,
Yeah. I was tech director for 4 years. Did you
oh
know that? Did you even know that?
no.
Yeah, I used to, Steve, right? Me and Steve used to be the tech people from my first year teaching for the first 4 years. So did you ever have an opportunity to meet like Lillian McGrail? She was like she was our stage manager at the time. I'm trying to think who else you would know from that crew. Like, forgot her last name. You might know Shannon Stimson.
Yeah, from JoJo.
I figured, yeah. So like Shannon was in that crew of people back in the day. Yeah, there was like a core group of people that it was. We used to we built all the sets, and I drove the U-Haul to states every year and all that stuff. It was my thing. I had to stop doing it for a couple of reasons. A was my entire life was at the high school.
Yeah.
You can relate to that, I'm sure. But it's I would work all day, I would do tech all night until like 9, 10 o'clock.
Mm.
It got to the point that I was like, if I don't stop doing this, I'm never gonna find a wife. And that's really what happened. Like I did it for like one more year once I met my wife. And I'm like, I can't do it anymore because it's too much. And it was, if I'm being honest, it was a lot of hours of work for not a lot of money extra. So it was hard to justify keeping doing it. It was a lot of work, Brooke.
Yeah.
I mean, you see, it's a lot of work. And even with a ton of help from the kids, and everybody got better at what they were doing as the years went on, too. Oh, Amanda, who helps out with the shows now, right? Yeah, Amanda was part of my crew back then, too. Yeah, we were tight, but it's a lot of work. So yeah,
The tech people on Miss Glinda, I don't know how they do it, and they
a
stay there.
lot. I know it's a lot. And at the time, I would like leave at night, and I was living in South Boston at the time too, so that I'd have to drive home, and I couldn't find parking, and oh, it was a nightmare. Then wake up and do it all over again. By the way, I already told you how busy it is to be a sped teacher all day, to have to go and do that at night too. It was a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, some of my most fun years though, as being a teacher, were working with that crew of people doing going to states, like because I did it in high school too. I was a drama kid in high school, and I missed it. So it was really nice to get to live that out a little bit, and I'm glad. No regrets doing that at all.
What's next for you? And well, we already know that you have like a new position, but
Yeah.
besides, what is next for you?
So let's put it this way, Brooke.
Hmm.
I'm 43 years old. I'm getting up there. I have another 21 or 22 years until I can retire. But what is I am funny enough, I am thinking a lot about retiring lately, even though it's 22 years away, long time. Um, Mainly because I want to just travel the world on boats and go on cruises and be an old person. But I don't like saying that because I don't want to like wish time away either. You know what I mean? But that's really what I've been looking forward to. We all kind of dream about that, I think, a little bit, especially once you hit a certain age. It's like, eh. And by the way, like you see Mr. Beck just retired. You see people retire and you're like, oh, what a dream come true for them to start to do that. But obviously that's a long time away. So I think like the best answer to what's next is really try to make this program at the high school that I'm going to be a part of, put as much of myself into that as I can. It's going to naturally evolve into something a little bit different. Not much because it's a great program, but it's going to have my flair to it now too. So I want to be the best I can be at that. It's going to be a process. It won't all be in place, right off the bat in the first year. But I want to do that. And I think that's really in this transitional time right now. I think that's what I'm focusing on. Because other than that, there's not much else other than, like I said, planning for already. I want to go on a cruise in February. I want to already start thinking about next summer. And, that's it. Because I got to save up money if I want it. So I got to think about it. So that's what's next. Sometimes people ask, oh, would you ever want to be like an assistant principal or a principal or anything like that? And the answer is no, that's not something that I want to do. And some people want to do that, and that's fine. Like, obviously that was something that Miss Del Solio wanted to do when she was a teacher, and it's worked out great for her. I don't want to do it. I know I'd make a little bit more money doing that stuff, but I don't want to put this the wrong way because it's not an insult to anybody who does it. But I if I wasn't working in a classroom with students every day, I wouldn't want to work as in education. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The best part of the job for me is has always been working with the kids. And probably the most difficult part of the job is working with other adults, you know? So the last thing I would really want to do is put myself in a position where I would have to work with more adults and less kids. That's just the way I feel about it. Just it's where I feel happiest. It's where I feel most comfortable. It can be challenging, obviously. All in all, I love that aspect of it. Um, so as far as moving, as far as my job go, like, am I going to go back to school and learn more? Nope. I'm done with that stuff. I'll do what I have. You have to do certain things to get your license, but nothing major. Like I just took a course this summer on well, I was taking it during the school year too, but it's over now. On like a very detailed course on ADHD, like learning more about it. I'll do stuff like that just to learn how I can better help kids. A bunch of teachers right now are getting their advanced, it's called their CAGs. Have you heard that before? Yeah. So a lot of teachers are doing that because it gets you to your next level to if you want to go on and do more things. I couldn't see myself doing it. Obviously, you heard my story. I struggled with school a little bit anyway, so I'm all set, got my master's, I'm cool. Like I'll be okay for now. And that's it, baby. Unless I hit it big in the creator fund and become a TikTok superstar, in which case the sky's the limit. You have to ask me again once I hit that, what's next?
That's what Miss Costigan said. She's like, if I get like, something good happens, done.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, maybe that could happen. Um, but I'm not banking on it. And in the meantime, I'll be very happy to continue doing what I'm doing. So for the next, like I said, 21, 22 years, who's counting?
Lastly,
Yeah.
what is your advice? And that can mean like for your from your podcast, from you teaching, or like whatever. Like, what advice do you have to share?
Oh man, I feel like I've already dropped a bunch of it, but let me narrow it down to the big pieces of advice. And I'm really going to think about it because I don't want to give you just a always do your best. I want to actual advice. It's essential to get out of your comfort zone. The things that you fear are probably the most important things that you got to do. And this is something that I need to keep reminding myself on a daily basis too. Because personally, I'm an anxious guy. I have a lot of anxiety, and I hate to think of the opportunities that I've missed because of that. Whether that's just an opportunity to have a good time, to meet new people, to travel, to do all these things. It's important to embrace your fears, step out of your comfort zone, and go for it. You find most of the time that it was the things that you thought you couldn't do are much more achievable than you ever dreamed they were. Even big things, even big things. So I think that's a big thing to remember to do that. The most important thing in life, are you ready? The most important thing in life, arguably, is connect with people, make connections with people, and don't burn the bridges that you create. You're already got this going for you, Brooke, you're a likable person. Not everybody is. Not everybody is, Brooke. People meet you, Brooke, and they like you, which is a nice quality to have. It's not just an automatic thing. There are some people that everybody meets and they don't like. So
Yeah.
if you have that going for you, you've already, that's really half the battle.
Yeah.
Because as long as, if you are positive to people and if you are friendly to people and if you are somebody that people like to have around, then all of a sudden doors open up for you and you never know when those will come in handy in life. It's something we can all do. You don't need special skills. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room, the most athletic person in the room, the strongest person, et cetera, et cetera. If you can just get along with everybody, from somebody who's like the girls' hockey star, you know what I'm talking about, to somebody who is the person who paints the sets at the theater, to somebody, to the adult singer in a family band that performs at Bianchi's. If you can get along with all these different types of people and can find ways to connect with them, even if they're at very basic levels, oh my God, I can't believe we both love Mamma Mia. I can't believe, that these little connections that you can make with people are the pathways to all sorts of opportunities in your life. And even if that seems like bizarre to think in the moment, you never burn those bridges. And one day you're working at the pizza center and the superintendent of schools walks in and changes your entire life, because you never burned a bridge, because you always were a trustworthy person. You never gave the people a reason to, you know, think that you would screw them over or anything like that. And all of a sudden, your life changes because of it. So always be positive around people, be a positive influence around them, be kind and helpful to people. That stuff just comes back and returns to you tenfold. And it's easy to do. All you got to do is, can you swear on this podcast? One swear? All you got to do is not be an asshole. As long as you're not an asshole, you'd be amazed at, what can happen. So there you go. We'll leave it at that.
By the way, did you get my letter that I gave you on the last day?
Yes, I did. And I just actually read it again because I was going through all my papers and I read it very recently. So, and thank you it was very kind and stuff like that really means a lot to me and to other teachers too, to think that you took the time to do that and that it was individualized for me too. Very sweet of you. You're very sweet, Brooke.
Oh, thanks.
It's not going to be the same without you and you guys in general next year.
Mm,
I,
yeah.
I'm glad I'm not in the same classroom because I'd get too sad without you guys there. Thankfully, I'm someplace different. So yeah.
You'll make new memories.
I know it'll be okay. It'll be fine. But I will miss you guys. And I want you all to succeed. I want you guys all to kick ass. Just whatever you want to do. I just want you to do it and not be afraid. That's it. That's it. I think you guys will. I think you're all hard workers and you're all people that overcome odds. You're all people that rise to the challenge and you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
I don't know, very surreal when we all were at graduation. Because, like, I
You're
don't know,
great.
I've never seen so many people like cry and like that for some, for
I
something.
know. I know. I know. And I love watching it every year, to be honest. Like, kind of dread it. Like, you kind of dread it because you're like, oh my God, we worked all day and now we have to stick around and then go to graduation at night too. So that's always like, oh my God. But then every year it's like, I love it. I just love seeing this moment of success. Literally throw your hats in the air because you're so excited that you succeeded.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
So where could people like especially like stay up to date with you?
Great question. Thank you for asking that. The best thing to do if you want to see what new creative things are Mr. Palen doing, your best bet is to follow me on TikTok. And my name on TikTok is D_Anthony_Palen. Maybe Brooke can put that in post production, right? Thanks. And so that is where, honestly, that's where my stuff first hits there. Then I'll usually go to Instagram after that. Um, the Instagram account to follow me on would be my main Instagram, and that is dappa.dave, DAPPA.dave. Where you'll also, that's where you can see pictures from all my cruises and also anything that goes on TikTok goes on Instagram as well. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. But that's the best way to keep up with me. There's also a website danthonypalen.com,
Yeah.
which doesn't have much on it, but it just links to my most recent podcast episodes. And I don't know if I get the urge, I'll update it. But I mean, I paid for a year, so I might as well do something with it.
And you came out with that Instagram when it said life coach.
I
I
know.
turned to, I think it was like Kenny. I was like, okay, I just graduated and now he's a life coach. I was like,
It's like, that's
okay,
right. I'm gonna follow you along, Brooke. I'm gonna keep
yeah,
talking.
like, wow. I was like, these teachers are doing so many fun things, and we just,
Yeah, it was cool. I'm just like, yeah, I put on there I was a life coach. It doesn't necessarily mean that I have had any clients. But I like the idea of it. I like the idea of, hey, I'm your coach for. I like the idea of the persona of it to put out there. You
oh,
know, like my advice in an academic support classroom could also be the same advice that I give you on how to succeed at your job when you're 35 years old. You know, you just change the language a little bit. We all struggle with the same stuff,
yeah.
all of us, myself included. So that's how you get me, though. So check it out. And if you like weird and interesting news, that's what you're going to see on my TikTok most recently. Always fun. It's it's 5 things to talk about with your coworkers. That's 5 interesting facts to talk about with your coworkers. Um, and I promise to leave you with interesting things to talk about every day if you subscribe to my channel.
Nice. Well, thank you, Mr. Palin, for
Brooke,
coming.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I wish you so much success. I know we'll be talking. I'll see you on Instagram and all of that. Um, but definitely check in with me once school starts. Let me know how things are going. And anything ever comes up, you need anything from us, you just reach out and let us know, and we'll do our best to help you out.
Thanks.
All right, you got it.
Thank you so much for listening and watching to My World with Stories podcast. Make sure to subscribe and follow along on YouTube and Spotify. To stay up to date, you can follow My World with Stories podcast on both Facebook and Instagram at My World with Stories podcast. Make sure to give this podcast a like for future episodes coming your way. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and we will see you guys next time.